Hi, I'm Ed Amoroso from Tag Cyber, and I'm here with my friend Yonatan Stream Amit, who is the CTO and co-founder of Boston-based Cybereason. Welcome to New York.
Thank you, Ed.
Great
Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, I'd love to have you here. Hey, let's start with maybe just a brief summary of what you guys do at Cybereason. Then I want to talk about some attacks and endpoints. What do you guys do?
We're going to have a fun day today.
Yeah.
Cybereason is a next generation EPP solution. We're doing everything from endpoint prevention, detection, response, visibility, endpoint analytics, and driving toward the autonomous security. Basically solving cyber problem using big data and machine learning from endpoint data all the way through prevention on the endpoint, detection of threats, visibility into them, and remediation.
That's cool. And you guys sell to businesses of more or less all different sizes?
We sell to businesses of more or less all sizes, focusing really on, let's say, medium to large enterprises. This is where the value really shines through.
I know you do well here in the US, but I've seen you guys show up pretty much everywhere, right? Sell globally?
Oh, we absolutely sell globally. We have a lot of sales here in the States, but also in EMEA, whether it's in Europe or even Africa. Big presence in Asia Pacific, even Australia. So things are looking well.
Now, I met your research team, really good group, and I forget, maybe a year or so ago, I saw and got a little bit involved in the work you guys did on SoftCell. You remember that, the Operation SoftCell attack? You guys have done some really interesting. How did that work? And tell us about it. I remember being very excited by what.
It's an amazing story. Yeah. It's every good story. The Nocturnus team had to be woken up at 3 a.m. on a call from a CISO telling us something looks fishy.
Right.
And it's the CISO was a CISO for a telco, the global non-domestic telco.
Yeah.
And we've just been deployed there for 48 hours? And things start looking wrong. Mm-hmm. And our research team jump on and start looking what's going on there. And because our solution gives this kind of unprecedented level of visibility, we can actually start seeing activity. And very, very quickly, our system starts alerting there's a malicious presence in the network. As we investigate, we're seeing what overwhelmingly looks like a Chinese-based attack against a telco. And the fascinating thing is they were operating within that environment, moving from asset to asset, until they found one of the very few machines that were bridging the IT environment and the OT. Basically found the right guy who on one computer can also both read his corporate emails and manage the cellular network core. So it has a connectivity between both environments. The hackers installed a VPN there, and we're using that platform as a global espionage platform. They were able to, given somebody's phone number, let's say they dial somebody's phone number, tell you where they are, who they talked to, what they did, their data, their text. Amazing attack. And basically, these guys had a very, very bad day. The attackers had a very bad day that day because we completely removed their presence from the environment.
I freaked out when I saw it. I called you guys and asked if I could blog about it. Because for me, I devoted my whole life to telecom security. And those are things that not only shouldn't happen, but must not happen. Those are the kinds of situations in telecom that are as bad as it gets. And when I saw that you guys had uncovered this, I wanted to sound the warning, make sure everybody saw the research that you guys had published. I thought it was excellent. It was a really good job by your team. That's a good job.
We have an amazing set of researchers.
Yeah, I wish you hadn't found it, but I know you did. But so thank you for that.
The scary thing there is that no individual finding in that attack was super severe.
Yeah.
So if you looked at any singular endpoint at a time or any component of how the breach was made, nothing there would tell you this is a ultra critical, stop everything right now. And for the hackers, the ability to take in like Lego bricks, build those attacks from small, seemingly not so dramatic and interesting threats, but build together a platform for espionage that serves strategic national interest for them, that's fascinating. And you have to have the mindset of how do I reconstruct the attack and how do I build from all these partial Lego pieces the full story. That's what's critical in order to build and bring down those attacks.
Yeah, this is impressive work. Now, you guys are doing some integration work between traditional next generation endpoint and mobility now. That seems like that's a new area for, I think for a lot of enterprise teams that was always separate. Tell us about what you guys are doing. You shared a little bit before with me privately. Tell the folks what you guys are doing.
Absolutely. So we're constantly on the lookout of how attackers evolve their methods and how enterprises evolve their networks. And we're seeing a huge transformation in what are the assets we're using as part of our business. Over the past week, I've probably spent more time on my phone and iPad reading my emails or interacting with our systems than any legacy computer.
Me too.
And as such, we realized that if you look at like how last generation security solution looked like, they were looking at every individual component separately. But if we understand that the new enterprise is comprised of all these various assets, your legacy laptops and desktops, your server, your containers, and your mobility, which is taking to have a bigger and bigger piece of the pie, you have to have a holistic view. We went around and interviewed our customers, and again saw a staggering blind spot on how mobility plays into the enterprise defenses. Mm-hmm. This led us to decide that we need to integrate mobility, prevention, detection, visibility, and unification across the entire asset base into one single platform that looks at your enterprise assets, whether they are legacy computers, virtualized cloud computers, and of course mobile devices. Mm-hmm. That singular cohesive view is an amplifier exactly because of what we discussed earlier, the ability to build on those building blocks and build those, get visibility across the attack itself, no matter which device it starts from or migrates to.
Is this platform going to replace or kind of live next to existing controls that might be there?
So we're looking to live next to your management solution, your MDM or UDM solutions. Yeah. We really want to be able to, they have a very, very strong IT benefit, but for next generation threats, you need something built with a threat focus in mind. For detection, visibility, it has to complement and live across with legacy management solutions.
Yeah, you know what I've noticed, and maybe you can help me understand if this is something your sales team see. For mobility, traditionally, you're selling to a different team than you sell, say, security solutions for an endpoint. It's the cybersecurity team under a CISO, and the mobility team might be off in a different part of IT. Is that? I would imagine that from a sales perspective, that could probably become, two messages, or how do you deal with that, or do you see that? I don't know if that's as much a case now.
We're seeing a lot of the time the CISO and the security team within an organization getting elevated, having more visibility, more seniority, and as part of that is a unification. There's a unification of the entire threat landscape under the CISO hat.
I see.
So while mobility management might remain outside the CISO's purview, the CISO is now owns securing the mobile devices, securing the identities, the assets, the applications that we access through our mobile devices. And as this shift happens, there's a demand for, can I get my security team to have a unified single console posture across devices?
So the question I'm sure everyone asks here, what's the role of 5G in all this? I would imagine, we all know that it's going to create greater connectivity and bigger speed, but how does it affect your planning, for enterprise?
The most amazing thing about 5G is that a couple of years from now, we're going to have substantially more devices that are not endpoint within our enterprise networks.
Including IoT.
IoT is coming, mobile, legacy devices, next-gen devices, and every one of those will have CPUs, be connected to the internet, be managed and have access to some portion of our network. This complexity is wonderful. This is going to give us a lot of a lot of efficiency and productivity to the companies, but it's going to introduce a lot of risks. And we have to bridge that diversity and bring all these visibility and detection and prevention across all these assets into a single environment if we are to solve them. Remember that from a hacker perspective, all this complexity is beneficial. I can use access as a hacker, use access to one device to gain some information of identity, passwords, and access to other devices and leverage those as platforms. If we don't start thinking of all of them think of it as a body. Each individual cell has its own meaning, but the real value comes when you start combining them together to build complex organisms. It's the same for our enterprise environment. Each CPU and each computing device does have its own security boundaries, but our enterprise IT is comprised when they all combine together in very non-trivial manners. If we think of the legacy security solving each cellular level at a time, we've already lost. We have to think of them as how they interact together to solve the solution.
Let me repeat back to make sure I got it, because I think you said something profound. So 5G creates greater size, scale, scope of devices. As they interact, complexity increases. And as complexity increases, risk increases. And that's what you're dealing with? Did I say that right?
Yes, very, very much so.
Most, what did I get wrong? I must have left something
I
out.
think...
Because I want to get that right. That seems like an important point.
I think what people don't realize is that as we add elements, complexity increases more than what we add. We talk about an exponential increase in complexity. If you have, 5 devices...
It's the interaction that creates the complexity?
Exactly.
Okay.
If I have some devices and I add one more, the number of new interactions I have to account for is an n+1, not just a +1 here. Right. So it multiplies each time I add a device to the environment. That multiplication means that we need to think of all these non-trivial interactions. We have to find them, we have to look at them, we have to understand them. So it's not only that complexity increases, it increases faster than the amount of devices we add. So if I'm adding 10,000 devices in a 5G world, I've just added billions of interactions into my environment. This is the new reality, where looking and trying to understand an attack means looking at possibly billions of potential interactions and finding the right path the hackers took in order to remove them completely from my environment.
I see. So as a platform designer, you're trying to minimize and also maybe hide some of that complexity. Do I have that right? How do you go about that as a designer? Because you're not going to be able to stop the gigantic explosion of things connecting. That's just going to happen, and that's probably a good thing.
We want to encourage it. We strongly believe that the more complexity, the more, plethora of devices we add to an environment,
Metcalfe's
better.
law. Right,
exactly.
Right,
the better we become as the more we can do as people, as companies. We have no desire to put any hindrance on that. Not that we can. But our vision is called autonomous security. Basically means, as complexity increases, we can no longer throw bodies at the problem. Yeah. So the only solution has to have where machines are doing the brunt of the work automatically and only escalating to the carbon-based intelligence for the things that require humans to integrate data. If you look at security operations right now, the majority of time analysts spend isn't on fusing data that is very, very complex. It's mechanical, it's menial. There's a huge amount of trivial decision making that humans do at the SOC all the time. It doesn't require that level of, we don't require super intelligent beings such as humans for most of them. But what we do need is to have automation using AI and machine learning to make all of these and present to the analyst a case that requires, okay, this is the facts of the story. Now you make the decision of what needs to be done and what it means for me. The secret here is amplifying the output for each human analyst by 100 times in order to scale to the problem, 1,000 times. And that's what we're constantly working on. Everything we do is about how do I give the analyst the right information at the right time with the right context to get the full picture and make the right decision.
How does this change the analyst's role? Like if I'm a human being and I'm thinking 5-10 years down, does my job go away, or does it just change in a fundamental way? What tends to happen, do you think?
I don't think your job is going to go away. I think you're going to end up doing much more of the, let's call it the interesting analysis. You're not going to, a lot of time what analysts do right now is integrating across systems.
Everything moves up the stack a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. Your L1s are going to be doing something that requires much more depth right now. They're not going to be mechanical, click here, press a playbook there, that's going to be automated. Your L2s are going to do much more deep analysis into what does it mean for my environment. Business context is going to be fused within that information. So I don't think we're going to see a decrease in the number of people working in security. I think the level of sophistication they will be able to handle and the amount of time they work on quote unquote interesting business impacting missions as opposed to just clicking away through tickets is going to change drastically.
Yeah. So the role of the analyst in a SOC likely to move away from rote tasks and maybe requires a little bit more expertise and training. That's certainly a possibility. It may be that the SOC analyst becomes something we all aspire to be.
if you think of how DevOps transformed IT,
Yeah.
we used to have people shepherding servers, and now we have people shepherding automation
Yeah,
that
those
shepherds the
jobs
servers.
don't go away with automation.
And right now we have the similar amount of people in DevOps that are building automation to an ever-increasing complexity and efficient systems. The same thing hasn't happened in security because the adversary is very good at hiding. In a DevOps world, the decision to kill a server and restart is trivial. And security is an ineffective solution. You hide, you will lose sight of the attacker. So you have to have the system that finds the threat, tracks the threat, does the automation, and then what the analyst will do is shepherd that level of automation to manage the problem at the speed of the problem.
Mm-hmm. Are you optimistic about cybersecurity in general? Do you think that we're getting, like, the defense getting better and maybe catching up? You know, that gap that we have between the hackers and the defenders seems like it's been growing. You've been staring at this a while. What should we expect in the next few years?
I'm super optimistic. When I started the company, my mission was what we call to reverse the adversary advantage.
Yeah.
We used to be in a situation where the cost of failure for an attacker was very low. I want to try to get into a company or an enterprise. I will try, says a hacker. I might fail, I might succeed. If I fail, I try again, try again, try again, try again. The cost of failure was very, very low. Mm-hmm. And therefore, I tried again until I succeeded. And that's why, all these truism about it's not if, it's when, and the attacker has to win all he wants, this is because we set the game that way. But with the advent of solutions such as ours, modern integrated visibility and detection and response platforms, even a singular success for the hacker doesn't mean he has...
And automation, obviously.
Of course.
Right.
Doesn't mean they managed to make any impact on my environment. Every step on the way from their initial access to whatever their agenda was is now a war for them. And every single time we fight that war, we have a very good chance of winning. So if the hacker needs from the moment of entry till whatever agenda they came to get there, take 1,000 steps, and that's a small attack, 1,000 steps, and each of them is its own war, and if they fail, they go back to square zero, now the chance of them succeeding is minuscule, because every single step is a battle. This is how we've been transforming security for the past 8 years, and every single day we're seeing more and more proof that the method and technology works to push hackers away. So I'm super optimistic. I think defenders absolutely have the upper hand, or should have the upper hand in prevention and detection, simply because we control the battlefield and we can make every single step a war. That's where we can win.
That's a nice vision. I hope you're right. I hope you're right. But hey, I want to thank you for coming by and sharing. Really, really awesome. You should be very proud of what you've built. Cybereason is a wonderful company, and everything you do helps us in the community. Keep doing it. We certainly need to keep closing that hacker's advantage, as you put it.
I'm super proud.
Yeah.
Every single day we're getting data from our customers on we have stopped another breach in the very, very early stages, either before it made any progress, or step 1 or step 2 or step 3. Every single time, we end up reverse engineering. The attacker was this and this was their agenda, and now they can't get that agenda because we pushed them away. And the fact that our customers are able to get control of their environment, that's what drives me every single day to get up and fight.
That's good. Well, I hope you and your team keep doing good work.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Great. And we will see you next time.